All right, all right. We are live and we are in the building. Hello, hello. This is Dr. East, and thank you so much for joining me for Dr. East Speaks. I am super excited about this evening for us to jump on this wine and wisdom, ladies. It's time for us to sip, savor, and elevate our minds. Okay, now tonight's topic I'm really excited about is dealing with breaking the barrier. Okay, how women are conquering the fear of vulnerability. Now let that sit for a second. This feeling of vulnerability. How many times do we deal with this on a regular basis, right? Are we dealing with the fact that we don't feel that it's okay for us to feel vulnerable? That it's okay, it's not okay for us to share some of these emotions that we're actually having, right? And we feel a lot of this in our relationships, right? So as I start breaking some of these things down and giving y'all some nuggets, I want you to understand that I can help you through this process, right? Some of us high achieving women are out here trying to balance these relationships along with our careers, and we're not doing a good job at it, right? And our mates are letting us know that we're not doing a good job at it. And so I definitely want to invite you, at the end of the call, I will absolutely invite you to jump on a call with me called the Seen and Be Heard call, because ladies, that's what we need, right? We need to be seen and be heard. And sometimes in our relationships, we're really not seen, and then sometimes we're not heard, okay? And this is all about me teaching you to have that self-confidence and that power when you walk into your home, and that grace, right? And that humbleness, but also that strength, so that you feel like you are represented and loved in that space, okay? Now, just for those of you that are joining me and don't know me, I am Dr. Carlia East. I'm an empowerment coach, clinician, and a powerhouse woman, and unapologetic badass. Y'all know I don't apologize for nothing. I've been in the game for over 20 years, providing guidance and leadership and coaching services to women all over the country. And I've seen them progress and flourish and become the badasses that I know they can be. And I wanted to create a space for us to be able to do that. And that's why we're here for Wine and Wisdom. So I hope y'all got y'all wine. I got my wine. Now, my wine may look a little cloudy, but that's because it's got a little something called margarita in it. See, sometimes you got to mix your wine with a little margarita to make the evening go better. Okay, so I'm gonna take a sip on that. Yeah, right up in here, right up in here. All right, guys, let's get it together. Now let's talk about Emily. Now, Emily is a woman who's in her 30s, and she's always been known to her family, her friends, and her social stance to be independent and be strong, right? Now, she's a very successful entrepreneur. She's a community advocate. She's always volunteering. She goes to church. She got all the boxes checked, right? And she's in total love with her fiance. So she's in a relationship. Okay, we vibing. Now, even though Emily is completely happy and she does all these things, she's very vulnerable when she comes to those quiet points in her relationship, right? She's built up like this emotional wall that she puts up so that she doesn't have to be hurt. It's a way for her to keep herself safe. She's been taught and been taught to believe that showing vulnerability is a sign of weakness. And when you think about how we power up as women in our careers, right? That is about us being strong. That is about us being dominant. That's about us being fearless. And so we adopt these ideologies, which are perfect, and then we bring them into our relationships, which are sometimes less than perfect. And so that's what we're here to talk about, is how we can create these better, dynamics. And so when we're looking at vulnerability and you're looking at the sign of weakness, you also have to recognize that this doesn't have anything to do with the fact that there is any love there. Emily loves her fiance, right? But she doesn't really share the deep shit that's going on with her, right? She don't really let him know her innermost thoughts, or when she's feeling insecure, or when she's feeling anxious. Now, how many of y'all do that, right? How many of you ladies have a boo and you love your boo, 10 toes down, that's my baby, but you don't really let him or her know what's really deeply going on with you, right? Like, think about that. You don't really let them know what's going on. Now, if y'all vibing with me right now, put a one in the comments, right? Or put a one in the chat, because I know y'all feeling what I'm saying. Even if you're joining this after the fact and this is a recording that you're watching, put a one in the comments, because this is something that we do as women. We say we're so open to our mates and we want them to be we want that reciprocity to be there as well, but then we feel like we can't really let them know our innermost thoughts and secrets. Now, I understand the fear, okay? I've had the fear multiple times. It's the idea that if I let someone know my true self, how would they judge me, right? How would they see me? Will my mate see me as different? Will he not, love me the same? Will he not accept my flaws, right? And so there's all these different fears of judgments that we've had. And so what you got to understand is that when it comes to this, you can't control. You can't control judgment or rejection. I need y'all to understand that. You cannot control other people's emotions. What somebody else feels about you, thinks about you based upon the information they know or don't know, you have no power over that. If you are in a committed relationship and you love your mate and they love you and you express to them your vulnerabilities, the things that are internal with you, and they aren't vibing with it, I need you not to think that there's something wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you, okay? And we're going to figure out where the vulnerability comes from, right? And why you're afraid to express it. But really, their reaction is about them. And so we've got to stop adopting other people's reactions and viewpoints to who we are as being vulnerable creatures or who we are as being strong creatures and allow that to manifest in ourselves and be who we are, how we think, right? How we motivate, how we move. That's just not the case. And so we don't want that type of stipulations on us, right? And so I think one of the other key things that you got to recognize is the vulnerability comes from a fear. What's the fear? Of the risk. Hello, who's been in a relationship? Put a 2 in the comments. If you've been in a relationship before and you were afraid to take the risk, like you knew that this was someone you wanted to be with, but you was like, Then I got to get to know them all over again. They got to get to know me all over again. I got to tell them all the stuff from my past again. I don't know if they go accept me for how I am or who I am, right? Who has gone through that? Guilty. I've gone through that. Let me tell y'all something. Relationships are very tender things. Okay? Very tender things. I know, because I'm twice divorced. And currently married, happily most days. Let's keep it real, because ain't nobody on here lying and deceiving on this live, right? We're being real honest about the Wine and Wisdom podcast, because love is tender and marriage is deep, and you have to figure out how to navigate both marriage, relationships, situationships, and everything else sometimes. And so when you're doing that, you have to also know that that vulnerability is going to be something that's put on the table because you're being open. You see, you can't open up to something and expose yourself and release things into the air like your love and realize that you're not being open to receive things, right? You're going to receive something. So during those tough times, when you're in your relationships, I know you prayed. I know you saw a counselor. I know you read a book. Let me tell you something. All those things are great because I got God and a therapist too. Okay. So you need all of those things to be effective. But just like you've read all the books, attended the relationship seminars and all these things, you still aren't fully connecting with your mate the way that you need to. He or she is still not vibing with you and the reciprocity is not there. But the reason why it's not sticking is because you haven't gotten to the root of the issue. Everybody got their pen and paper? Okay, now go ahead and take a sip now because I'm finna read you again. Now, the truth is, none of the things are going to work by themselves because the change that needs to take place is from within. Do y'all understand that? There's no course or no book or no title or no scripture that's going to help you deal with the internal messiness, right? Or the brokenness or the bruised emotions that are inside of you. In order for you to reach that scripture, reach that counselor, and reach that information and absorb it, you have to be ready for it. Okay? You got to be ready for it. In order to start breaking those barriers and, conquering the fear of your vulnerability, you have to, number one, reflect on your reasons why. Write that down, please. Reflect on your reasons why. Why do I have a fear of vulnerability? Ask yourself that question. Who did it to you? What did it to you? What experience did you have that taught you that you cannot be vulnerable? Okay. What person did you share something to, share something with, and them not relate to you in a way that made you feel that you were accepted? See, your fear of your vulnerability is deeply rooted in you. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Like someone planted that seed and now it's growing. So you have to learn how to dig up that root, right? We got to start digging at that root and figuring out where the surface is, where the baseline is, so we can yank that sucker out, right? Because we can't walk around in life being burrowed into something that is not healthy for us. Where did you learn that behavior from, right? Was it your mom or your aunt? Was it someone close to you that taught you not to be a weak chick and then defined what not being a weak chick meant? And that meant in your relationships, you're not to show vulnerability. You know, I mean, we have to think about the messaging and the stories that we've gotten, right? Did you watch someone that you loved, a woman that you loved, be hurt over and over and over again? And you were like, hell no, I will never find myself in that situation. Therefore, I will make sure I reserve a certain percentage for myself. Therefore, I will make sure that I keep this wall. It might be plexiglass and you can see through it, but baby, it's still there. Some of us are still holding up a wall. You have to identify your root, right? The root cause, and address them, overcome them. That means dealing with that inner shit, okay? That inner stuff, that gunk that you've never been dealing with, that you've never opened up about. You have to trust someone. Now, the question is, how do I navigate this, right? Now, many times that we are navigating this, we don't know exactly what direction to go because we've already tried so many things. But one thing that you do know today and right now is that you have to reflect on your reasons why and get to the root of your issue. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I just spoke life into myself, okay? Because so many times I have done this, right? And sometimes we need to remind ourselves through the work that we still have work to do. Now, if you're vibing with me and if you've been taking notes and putting ones and twos in the tracks and hallelujah and looking at me like, how does helpful know my life? Then I invite you to stay on, right? Stay in the chat, stay in the group, because I want you to show up for the seen and not be heard call, right? You gotta focus on that, because this is all about us ladies, high achieving career, entrepreneurial women who are trying to balance these relationships, trying to balance these kids, trying to figure out how to love on him and love on her and still love on ourselves. And we are not navigating it well. We are killing it in the office. But then when we come home, that is not our safe place. That is not our place of love and security and nurturing. And we don't feel that we have the power to navigate and be in that situation. Okay. And that's the important thing about navigating this, right? Is being able to understand that you have options. And one of your options is to take advantage of how you can deal with self-doubt, deal with some of those emotions of not feeling strong enough in your relationship, deal with the inability to communicate effectively in your relationships, and then harness that power so that you have more understanding between the two of you, better communication, and definitely some more intimacy, baby, because who don't want more of that? Hello, I want all of it. So in order to do that, you got to start making a move. And there is nothing that you're risking by jumping on a call with me. Now, I put the link in the chat, and I will put the link at the top of the comment section so that you guys can follow along and be on point with what we're doing. But make sure you ladies know that it is time for you to show up and show out in your relationships. It's time for you to get the love and the care and the tenderness that you deserve, because how much of that are you always giving other people? How much are you taking from yourself and giving to others on a regular basis? How many times with your mate do you silence yourself? Silence your goals and your wishes. Silence, a need that you have because you don't want to come across as nagging. You don't want to be annoying. How many times do you go to bed in silence, carrying those tears of hurt, carrying those tears of pain or anxiety or just lack of motivation because you're busy at work, or you're making sure, am I being a good mom? Am I being a good mate? Am I being this? And you want to talk to your mate about it, but you don't because you're afraid. It's time to stop living in fear and start living out loud. Do y'all understand me? It is time for you to cultivate the success and the brilliance and the love and the care and the tenderness, okay, Al Green, that we need in our relationships that are so vital. And it's okay that you need it. Do y'all understand I said need? It's okay that you need it. Now, we know it's not air and oxygen, but sometimes it is, right? And that's okay. You love that man. You love that woman. You want that relationship. But what are you going to do about it? Okay? It's time for you to make that call. Listen, I'll put it in the chat. No pressure, but I need you guys to like, follow, share. This has been a blast. I love giving y'all nuggets and bringing it to you real deep. Y'all know what your mission is. You know what you need to do for your relationships. Own your stuff. Recognize it. And as always, I love you guys. Share my information and continue to embrace your individuality and make sure that you are totally secure in who you are. And if you're not, then you got somebody right here that can get you there. Okay? Be safe, be blessed, and y'all be well. I'll holler at y'all next week. Bye.